This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Perfect. Today's guest is Ivan Janku, CEO of Digital Rocket. Today's guest is Ivan Janku, CEO of Digital Rocket. Ivan started as a solo freelancer, watching agency waste ad dollars and avoid accountability. Wasting ad dollars is such a huge problem in our industry today, and we're going to dive into a lot of that with Ivan. Frustrated by the fluff and finger pointing, which there's a lot of fluff, he built Digital Rocket on a radically simple premise: cut the BS, show the math, and engineer predictable growth. Today, he's hit 20-person team, has managed over 80 million in ad spend across Meta and Google, generated 250,000 qualified leads, and driven more than 250 million in client revenue. He's been featured in Forbes, appeared on Perpetual Traffic, and built a fast-growing content platform called No BS Advertising. If you've ever felt burned by an agency, confused by ROAS, which we'll dive into what that means, dashboards, or unsure where your growth leaks actually are, this episode is for you. Ivan, welcome. It's so good to have you.
Nice to meet you, Sasha.
So let's take a step back, which I love to do with all of my clients. You started as a freelancer. What did you see inside agency that made you say the industry is broken, or really the system is not working as it should be?
So I started way back in 2014. I just saw the end of the Power Editor and stuff like that. So for us, it was just like basic media buying. Copywriting was just the thing we started doing back then. So you can imagine the main problem was that when we started acquiring customers, most of them didn't have designers, creative team. And then that was the first problem we tackled. So then we started adding creative teams. Like, I know that now in 2026, it sounds ridiculous not to have your own designs and creatives, but back then it was the norm to just do media buying. Right away back then, I just noticed that the average business owner is going to struggle to actually complete the full funnel without actually having a lot of expertise themselves, which unfortunately most don't.
Yeah. I mean, it is really crazy to think that we're still having this conversation in 2026, but it's so, I mean, the honesty of it all, as you're putting it, is on point. So really then diving in further, the lack of accountability was also, I'm sure, something that you came across. Maybe there was even platform dependency, the overpromising, under delivering, which is happening right now with AI specifically, where when we all got tired about hearing so and so can 10x your business, this is coming back with AI and all the new platforms that are happening. So really, let's talk about how, you're mitigating and cutting all of that out with what you're doing.
So the usual thing I see is that the fractions, or just like there's a lot of friction and there's a lot of just gaps and bottlenecks in most businesses that usually nobody manages because you're just like flying blind most of the time, working things as they go. So there's no real like set time period for you to like, okay, take a step back, reassess, redo your strategy, look at your math. It's usually that somebody like us needs to come in and do a holistic audit of the business where we check out everything from the P&L, the website, the tracking, just everything from media buying to emails, because you never know which business is going to skew to which channel. I have examples for each media channel that we've ran ever that won for a business. So way back when we only had Facebook, I had a situation where like clients wanted stuff to run which were just Google heavy, not really Facebook heavy, like incorporating a company. They wanted to run Facebook ads for that time. Like nobody's going to find that. Even now with Andromeda, you might even have a chance. But back in 2015, there was no way. And then, so you can imagine, if you don't have enough of the different options to provide for a business, you will end up just doing what you do. And that's not the right fit for a lot of businesses.
And I love that you bring up, it depends what company skews on what channel, because even a company in the same industry cannot necessarily work on the same type of channel, right? I mean, and it really all boils down to how they segment out and how they're looking at who their exact target audience is. And that's really what it is.
1,000,000%. I'll have examples where people are asking me to run Facebook ads and I check out their business. I'm like, you need to run email. Like your Facebook ads are not going to cut it. You're going to have to do a lot more nurturing, or maybe they need to say something that's not really going to work on a Facebook ad, but it's going to work well through emails. Just that is one example where food brands, we often get called to run Facebook ads for them, but they never have emails for some reason. And they're like, we cannot sell meat through emails. Let's give our designers a shot. Like you would be amazed how it can look through Klaviyo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely understand. And I love that you're having these honest conversations because clients come to you, they think it's not that they think that they know what they want, it's what the chatter out here in the world is telling them that they need, and they're just going to go around that. I mean, it's for example, there was a article by the New Yorker that came out that said SEO is dead. And the person that wrote it isn't even a marketer, by the way.
Mm.
So it's like I countered that and said SEO is not dead, SEO is evolving, and so a lot of the times it's like you have all this garbage that you have to quiet down, and because most clients don't have the education to do that, that's where a lot of these problems start to happen, money being left on the table, money leakage, so on and so forth. I mean, it's just the list goes on.
To me, the whole situation was always ridiculous, but it came from me from a different culture point. So since I'm in Eastern Europe, we don't have that much like small talk and just being super ultra nice. We're quite direct and blunt, and
Yes.
I'm on top of it, much more blunt than everybody else. So you can imagine, like, the customer is always right mentality. So what? Like, does the customer tell the doctor what medication to give them? Like, no, no doctor is going to accept that. So if you're a
Yes.
real professional, in my opinion, the whole situation of you accepting the opinion and like that they're right is ridiculous, because then you're not a professional. Like, okay, maybe the customer is right, but you need to be agreed on that. And I often see that business owners start working with agencies, and agencies from the moment they sign them up are like, okay, tell us what to sell. And I'm like, no, like, if
Wrong.
you wrong product and you're dead instantly, and the business owner
Yeah.
shouldn't be the one making that decision.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You're speaking my language. So, where did the no BS philosophy really come from? I mean, I can answer this myself, but I want to hear where it came from you.
I was forced to lie while I was working as a freelancer in an agency, and I refused and got fired for that. So basically, yeah, they told me to just add likes and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, that's bullshit. I don't want to do that. Like, they paid for this and that. And I just remember they were
Wow.
like, if you don't do that, we will lose the client. And then I just sent a report and said, like, this whole situation is useless. I don't think we should continue running ads. And that's what got me fired. But that was like before we started Digital Rocket. It was quite hard, like, because I do understand the position of the business owner. They need to pay the bills. It's hard, but at the same time, we realize that just because we're frank and honest, that's the thing that gets us the most referrals. And on top of that's what gives us the most loyalty. Like, we had even customers leave to big agencies. I won't name drop, but they're big names. And then they come back to us because those agencies just did what they did, and if you survive, you survive, while we just
Yeah.
honestly always told them what we think, what we're going to do next, what is the plan, how we're developing. So they understood that they had a partner in the corner to help them develop, and not just an agency to grow through them. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And it's really interesting to hear that you say that, that you had to lie, you had to add like numbers and so on. I mean, this stuff happens. It happens more often than not because, if an ad campaign is not working, it's the option of, just telling the client, hey, listen, I don't think like this is working for you, right? And it's not the instance of, and working for enterprise companies on the back end and having to work with folks like you guys and contract things out, there was more often than not, I think, throughout my career where I probably less than 1% heard somebody say no, we don't take this on, right? It was always a yes because it was money that was coming in through the door for these agencies, but then it just flopped and it didn't work, right? Because they were all of a sudden like, well, we're getting this big enterprise company. It's going to be great for our portfolio. But yeah, you're not really going to have a case study if it doesn't function, right?
Exactly. And there's always a mix of different situations. Like, I had situations where we worked with enterprise companies, and it was like the worst experience ever because it was so slow, so uncoordinated. And like, even if you did everything perfectly, the chance of success with that speed is insanely slow, insanely small.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my opinion, the industry is going to go through a shift, mainly because we lost a lot of those gurus to crypto and AI, because,
Yeah.
like, everybody follows a fad. So thank God that the run your own agency stopped being a trend. Like, I know there's still a lot of courses for $99, but you get me. So right now, I kind of think we're kind of being left with ourselves. Like, only people that want to be in this are here, and now with AI, there's going to be still like a bit of, let's say, of a purge. So expecting the years to come, this is only going to be like a spot where people are actually coming in to do their best, and it's not going to be just a hobby like it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Marketing is not easy. And a majority of the time, like, marketing isn't necessarily, oh, yeah, I wake up in the morning, can't wait to do this, but it is a challenge in and of itself, which is, I think, what, as marketers, what excites us to just really move the needle for each one of our clients, right? But it is a challenge. And everything that we do behind the scenes, it's almost like, picture a mountain, right? Like an iceberg that's popping out of the water. You don't see the bigger picture that's happening underneath the water. And there's just the piece of the iceberg that's coming out, right? There's so much work that it entails to get done to really get to actually getting to market. And then once you get to market, how do you continue to build and kind of push forward? So you're absolutely right. I think in the blowout, because I won't say in the birth of AI, because AI has been around, as we know, as marketers, a lot of tools and platforms have already been using automation for years and years and years. But with the exponential blowout of AI into the system, there has been a lot of the new age riding the wave, as in, quick, fast cash, and making it on the back of somebody who probably doesn't have the money to spend, which sucks. But those companies are going to fold eventually, and we're going to be left with, pretty much the giants that are going to be running AI, but marketers aren't going to be out of sync. And this fear that was being instilled, oh, marketing is going to die. There's going to be a platform that's going to run XYZ. Maybe, but it's not going to happen in the next couple of years, right? And I think there's always going to be a need for a human to optimize and strategically look at things. Yes, strategy can be built out even today, but it's still not where it needs to be, where I think a lot of people are screaming on top of the mountains that were already there.
Yeah, I think that down the road there's going to be some stuff like grocery shopping could be done easily through AI, so you don't need to even go through
Yeah.
a store or something like that. But then still the new things, the innovations, the general like aha moments, that's not something that you get through AI. And even if AI gets a moment like that, you really need to be on top of the game to be able to pick it out. So
Yeah, because it's a
yeah,
human instinct, that aha moment, I mean, even how people are writing books these days through AI, they're not great because there is no human touch to it. So finding that, so as we say here in the States, the needle in the haystack, I don't think AI has gotten there yet.
for me, I love the fact that I can do a lot of stuff, like not really all the way, but halfway. So, for example, when I have a vision how I want some creative to look specifically, I
Yes.
tell it to chat GPT, so it makes it kind of like a mock-up. It's not exactly what they wanted, but I don't need to go through a lot of
It's
explanation to my design
inspiration.
team. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they understand generally what the angle and the whole point of the ad is. While if I just went through text or through a video explainer, it would be much harder for them to understand. At the same time, I love just the fact that I can use GPTs to go through a lot of data fast, to go through objections, to go through
Yes.
questions. Or, for example, another thing that I often use is just when we onboard a client that does lead gen and sales, I just get all of their sales calls, dump them into the transcriptions, and just start digging out the information. And often,
Analyzing. Yep.
you just need to add that to your emails, ads, and websites, and you're going to have much better performance. So usually businesses have all of the data, and now we have even the tools to go through the data. Now will businesses finally start doing their homework? That's another story.
Yeah. Yeah. Speed and agility to market has been fantastic for us as marketers, for sure. When you built Digital Rocket, what did you do differently from day one? So, we've obviously talked a lot about your radical transparency, which really isn't radical. It's just honesty in my book. I mean, really, was it showing the math, teaching clients what's happening, owning the performance? I mean, let's talk a little bit about the differentiation in terms of what makes you guys you.
So the main thing that I always wanted is just to build a really good team from Serbia, just because I saw that the culture works for this type of industry really well. I mean, our English is good enough. We grew up on just listening to everything like American. We didn't have that many TV stations growing up in Serbian. So you can imagine, I noticed that pattern where we're better at problem solving. And since then, just things have been changing. Like the economy in the States has been completely different. So like, for example, for $50 an hour, is the media bar good in the States?
Yeah.
Sometimes. But in Eastern Europe, for $50 an hour, you should get somebody quite decent. So that's just one example that I'm basically giving where globalization is playing in our favor. So my goal is to just build a system where an average business owner can come in, get support, get transparency, get what they exactly need, and not go through that bullshit. And like we squeeze you as much as possible. We keep our pricing quite transparent and quite simple. And yeah, the main thing I just noticed is that everybody's just sick and tired of trying to figure out who's bullshitting you. And The fact that
Yes.
we even some like we tell them right away, like our reports are not going to be fluff, and that means that we will, if we have a shit week, we will send you a bad report. So
Yeah.
is what it is. If you get upset, it's just reality. And often that's the kind of the thing that to customer screams green flag, even though it's not, it doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's then I want to follow up with what's the biggest profit leak that founders don't see? I mean, is this weak positioning? I mean, we talked a little bit about that. Maybe it's the slowness of the websites, maybe it's poor follow-up, maybe I mean there's a multitude of things just depending on what type of platforms you're using.
Yeah, I would say that depending on the symptoms that the business has, usually we get called in either when they cannot, like, let's say stage one is like they cannot get ads to work at all. So that means that
Yeah.
they either have a lot of different issues. Usually they have 10, 15 issues at the same time. I usually start off looking at the website because most people just rush to run ads and they never actually complete the website. And in 2026, I think the biggest issue is that everybody makes a desktop website first and then adapts it to the mobile, which is a problem because in most cases, even when we do it like that, there are issues because some concepts and messagings look a lot better on the big screen. So that was the main thing we started changing. Like from this year, all websites are done mobile first, and then we do desktop. And then we have to argue with our customers, like, this doesn't look as good on desktop. And I'm like, yeah, but in 90% of our traffic is going to be mobile. So just the
Yeah.
fact that
I
you're a
mean, what
six
is it? Average like 75% and above across
and
every
above,
industry? Yeah.
and it's just going to continue going up. And in general, we see that seniors are using social media more and more, especially Meta and Facebook. We have everything regarding like pensioners for marketing as a client type, and the main thing we just do right away is just like scale up the fonts. It's like, just as an example, just
Yeah.
so, because mainly people forget about like the mobile size, and they forget about the average person
For
wearing glasses
sure.
and stuff like that, and nobody has time to actually go get their glasses. They're rather going to skip your ad. So yeah, often the stuff I show is quite diabolically basic. Like I sold a website a month ago by just telling the guy, okay, go and buy something from your phone. And like it was a professional agency that made it amazing on the desktop, and it still didn't convert. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
that's just one example. Before, in the year like 2024, 25, it was mainly like iOS 14.5. Just the fact that nobody could figure out server-side tracking and the solutions were really hard. Now, like, I have a YouTube video in less than a minute explaining how to set up server-side tracking, so it's quite easy. So it depends on the moment, the situation. Often enough, I go in and look at like how they do the offers. Can they do bundlings? I made a lot of money for my customers by adding gift wrapping, especially if there is like home decor stuff. That can be amazing
Especially for
because,
e-commerce, right? Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you cannot gift wrap your sales guy, but yeah. So the
Yeah.
whole angle for me is just always figuring out what can I do to kind of bring the target closer to me before I decide to fire, because everybody just rushes to run the ads. I kind of like to spend
Yes.
2 weeks to a month just making sure that everything's aligned, and
Yes.
then my example, another thing is that I refuse to sell as a combination like Meta and Google if they don't have everything else set up properly, for because Meta and Google, when you launch it as an agency, it's going to be much more expensive and harder for them because both of them have ad spend. So I combine Meta and email, for example, and we get high profitability. What we mentioned, like Ross is not great because often there's going to be cannibalization between channels, and then that cannibalization is going to skew everything. I worked with big brands that were like, we need profitable Facebook ads and prospecting, but then they're giving away discounts in their emails and text messages, and of course those people then end up being counted as conversions for the other channels.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not using Ross is going to be an issue, and without actually being able to combine the right like channels that go well together, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah. And for those of you listening, ROAS is return on ad spend. But what I also wanted to talk about a little bit, which I don't think a lot of people really get into, is attribution and really understanding, from the data standpoint, right? Because especially if you're tracking and coding and doing all that kind of stuff, like for example, UTM codes get washed once it crosses over through a mobile phone, right?
Exactly.
So I think and this is great, not just for marketers who are listening, but also for founders to understand that, when you run Facebook ads, they sort of take over the impression aspect of things, and also claiming a lot of the leads that are coming through will, if you're running a multitude of different channels like Facebook, Google ads, and so on and so forth, Facebook will pull out the majority that it has come from them. So a lot of it is skewed. So how do you mitigate running attribution? Is it duplication of pages? I mean, what is the best direction to go in that sense?
We've done everything you can imagine. It really depends on the volume. If you have
Yeah.
money, if you have revenue, and you have a lot of channels firing away, then investing in something like Wicked Reports is amazing, mainly because I think Wicked Reports is the only one that figured out that cross channel and cross
And that's
platform.
that's Wicked or Wiki?
Wicked
Uh-huh.
Reports. We
Yeah.
have a partnership with them. Use code NOBS20 to get a discount. And basically, with them, they are a bit more complicated, in my opinion, than they should be, because it is kind of overwhelming how many different aspects you get. But just for basic numbers, like to understand how many people came first click from Facebook, second click from Google, and just like to figure out your customer journey through that is going to be much easier and better. There are other tools. We use Triple Whale and stuff like that. But besides that, just setting up everything properly to make sure that the data is also going to be matched in Meta. The thing that we started doing for every customer is tape and blot out. The main thing that you need to understand with that is that they're independent companies that have their own data. Basically, they buy their data from those people that we don't love online, and they then resell that data to Meta or access to that data. So if Meta doesn't match the data with your account, it could match it with something in their database, meaning that when you go to your Pixel and see the data validity score, I think that's the name, you will see a sharp increase in the amount of people being matched in the database. So from that, you can also understand that your Andromeda campaigns and everything else relying on
Yes.
data is going to work much better.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. There's so much to unpack. But you talked about selling more without spending more. I'm intrigued by this mindset. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So it works for a lot of different angles. Like often enough, we just tested increasing prices for a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And they were just always afraid to test everything. We just made a lot of different landing pages, hidden them from view, and just to test them independently. And then you see that you can actually sell it for a lot of money, a lot more. And then that difference is they always feel kind of guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't. But like that allows you to spend more to acquire a customer, and then that's going to enable you to win. So figuring out if you can increase your prices, what you can do to repackage it, rename it, give it a better headline, whatever, money back guarantee, but then it gives you a higher chance of selling or higher cost. Those are going to be the main things you need to figure out. So if you can figure out how to either lower your cost of acquisition or make more money per customer, either is going to play the biggest role, and then everything else falls under that. Website optimization, one or the other, you get me. So those are the main things. The secondary thing I would say is that in general, developing a system how to increase your average order value is going to be important. We all saw those, if you get free shipping over $100 or whatever, that's just the start of it. You can do a lot more than just that, but it really depends on the type of business.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. So let's break down rocket ship system. We talked a lot about, really maybe culturally how you run your business, but what is and how do you approach it in simplest terms? So, for example, break down your offer strategy, your conversion first website, or discipline testing or scaling rules. I'd love to just understand at a high level, end to end how you guys operate.
So the first thing I check is that most businesses have profit leaks or data leaks, or in general, they just have a lot of friction in between different stages of their conversion journey. So that's the main thing. There's no point in us spending money on like just a leaky bucket. What's the point of it when we know we're just losing people left and right and dumb stuff we could repair? And often, like when we work with like the fourth or fifth agency that company has hired, and they all just jumped running Facebook ads. So that's kind of the last thing you need to be doing. You first need to make sure that your investment is going to go through well. And then, like, especially if I'm the one responsible to making that investment profitable, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to make sure that everything falls into place, that the whole journey, the whole experience works seamlessly, that all of the information is at the right place, and that they can find everything that they might need later. Without that, like, you cannot really know if your ad worked or your website and offer failed. And so that's one of the main things I always felt uncomfortable. Like if the website looks crappy and the messaging is weird, why would somebody buy even if I make a good ad? I wouldn't do it. So that's where I start. And often the business owner is just like a person that's really good at their job or really good at the specific product. They make their own product. And so all of a sudden they are supposed to know finances, lawyers, marketing, design, psychology, hooks and stuff like that. And so like I worked with everything from like a doctor to an engineer, and all of them have issues like transitioning to that business mindset and just marketing and doing stuff. So to me, it was just figuring out a way how to lead the business through the transformation they need to go through without actually giving the business owner an aneurysm, which in most cases they went through a couple of them. So like they needed somebody that's going to actually take over control and just like show them what they're going to do and then build it out. Like I gave you an example of the doctor, but the same is for a building. You don't build a building and just hope it's going to be good. You make a blueprint, figure it out, make measurements, and only then you start dedicating resources.
Yeah.
But for some reason marketing agencies like to go wild west still.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally true. Totally true. So let's talk then creative, CRO and the UGC, the UGC trap, which is user generated content. So you've said creative plus CRO plus email is the triangle that scales everything. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
So once we figure out anything that works well, like as a messaging, then we can figure out where we need to place it and stuff like that. It really depends on where we get the data from. If I get the data from a salesperson, like a question repeats, then I know I need to smash it on the website and emails, for example, not necessarily on the ads. When it comes to the creative strategy with Andromeda, changed the volume of how we do stuff. And then AI additionally enabled us to improve our output per person. And so that was the main thing we needed to achieve, like just to have 50 creatives per week or per 2 weeks, depending on the package and the ad spend they're on. Like that's a lot of work, and then you need to figure it out. So finding a copywriter that can consistently go through data, having media buyers that are also going to hunt for data and figure out what they need to do, what they need to write, how they need to do it, is really hard. And then just this, basically we now have the option of doing more than ever before, but then people are now not able to actually go through that amount of volume and data. On top of it, most people are still struggling with like the iOS updates and data setups, let alone actually figuring out how Andromeda works.
Yeah, yeah. So then what is the crux then of data? Let's say if somebody is like listening to this, and not to interrupt you, right? Because I think that no business today outside of bringing on somebody from a marketing standpoint is going to be able to even remotely understand the type of data. And I'm talking even just going in and looking at their Google Analytics, right? To understand impressions versus clicks versus landing pages, so on and so forth, right? Let's just talk about the base of the importance of data, and really educating themselves if they haven't really brought on anybody yet to, or maybe they don't need to, right? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I can probably try and simplifying it. Like the main thing I always look at is, are people gonna take the jump? Like why would somebody buy from you just because you like yourself? Like most business owners are biased. So when it comes to data, like you need to have everything you can to track, but just I wanted to start talking about something that's not really that data, more towards the psychological, and then how you corroborate the psychological stuff with data, if that works.
Yeah, totally.
So the first thing that everybody fails with their website is just achieving like trust and authority. And that's the thing that I noticed that most people kind of forget. Like I like to use this metaphor. Like if you and I are gambling buddies, and so we're sitting and so I'm telling you what to do for your gambling. Like if I'm your best friend, but you don't know anything about gambling, are you gonna trust me and do what I'm telling you? No, because I'm not an authority. Why should you listen to me if the chance of me actually knowing what I'm talking about are low? If you flip it around, like I'm the best guy ever that is in the betting world, but you think I'm an asshole, are you gonna trust me? Are you think I'm setting you up? Most likely not. So in both cases, like a rational, normal human is not going to give you their credit card just because you have a nice looking brand. They're going to need to make sure that you didn't screw over somebody. So you have reviews, testimonials, a history of actually doing the stuff you preach. And then on top of it, to have something like a third party validation. So like the fact that I was in Forbes helps a lot of people to understand that I wasn't yesterday in digital marketing. I'm here for a
Yes.
long time and I'm here to stay. So already that helps them understand who am I compared to the rest. So that's what you should do for your brands as well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So tell me what you think is wrong with user generated content in 2026 today.
So this ticks me off instantly. Like I just hate the whole concept of what they are selling as user-generated content. And when I say they, it's mostly agencies, because when we were in 2015, user-generated was like what you find on Reddit, what you find on Amazon, what you like normal stuff by people that
Organic
actually
people, yeah.
use the product. So like in my opinion, only organic UGC is actually UGC. Everything else is a paid spokesperson or an
Yes.
artificial one. So at the end of the day, the reason why everybody stopped trusting all of those famous people and sports and actors and everything is just because they were paid to sell stuff they didn't really care about. So enough people got burned by that, and so they stopped trusting that. And that's going to happen to UGC as well. We're on the road to an end. Like at some point, people are going to just, whenever they see AI, they're just going to fuck off, and that's it. They're not going to come back.
Yeah.
AI is going to become the new drop shipping.
Yeah, I mean, what do you then think of, because I have one client that just keeps pushing when I said, the other day I was like, we have to get you to do a VSL, like a video sales script, right? Or yeah. And he was like, oh, he's like, well, let's just get one of my AIs to do it. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like,
Yeah.
as good as you think your AI bot is, it's not great and it's horrible right now. And I don't know if ever, but I don't want to buy from an AI person. I don't want to listen to news from an AI person. I mean, I want to buy from somebody that's telling me why I should buy for them, and that authenticity. It's almost that a lot of people think that AI is going to take over a lot of things. There's already behaviors that I'm seeing that AI is taking us back to, I think, behaviors, however old anybody is listening to this, behaviors of like this, the 80s, like the 70s, and like really having that one-to-one touch with each other, building the trust between you and me, and not necessarily, technology taking over in its full force. I don't know. I mean, that's just what I'm seeing right now.
I think that humanity is generally like a toddler with a hammer right now when it comes to AI. So like we really don't know what it can do, what's it good for, and often we smash ourselves on the head with it. So like that's exactly my experience with a lot of these AIs. I love them, I use them, but it's you still need to be at a better level. So like if you don't know anything, you're going to be really mediocre. So
Yeah.
it's gonna get the job done, but it's not gonna like the website that's built. It's gonna look nice. The average
Yes.
customer is gonna say, "Okay," but will it convert? Will it perform? Will it make you the most money? Fuck no. So sorry, I didn't ask. Can I swear?
No, you can't swear.
I can. Thank you. So the main thing, you get me. Like everybody's kind of hoping that this is just like a one shot, like one click is gonna do the best job ever. But like even when you're good at the job and AI, you still need to do a lot of prompting. Like, for example, I tried writing YouTube scripts for my videos through AI, and it just started sounding the same, started sounding idiotic, and I couldn't feel myself in them.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
though I have
just
a
because of
teleprompter.
the human pace is off.
It's that, but it's not just that it's not me. It's kind of, I feel like I'm selling my brain to the matrix, let's say like that. Like I'm just switching it off, and like
Which
I'm
what
just
it is.
reading with de facto. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't want to think. I'm just gonna read what the letters say, and then hopefully the gods of AI will do everything else for me,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be a happy brainless idiot.
Yeah, I know.
Like I have an issue with some stuff. Like I like the fact that I don't have to go through Reddit comments myself and stuff like that, and it can like just pull out a
Yeah,
lot of
because
data.
people on Reddit are just mean sometimes, but
Exactly.
they speak the truth, which is great.
That or Amazon, for example, reviews. I often just pull a lot of creatives from Amazon reviews. Remember, like we worked for Thunderworks and Thunder Shirt, like a dog brand, and they only had before AI, like 2015, 16, like they just had a 3D dog and it ran really well on TV.
Yeah.
But then they forced us to run that on social media. We knew it wouldn't work, and they were like, "We have to test it because it worked on TV." So at the end, the best creative that worked, of course, the TV 3D shit didn't work, but we
Yeah.
found an Amazon picture of a dog in like a car, and the dog looked like really bad. The whole picture itself is really like a catastrophe, but it
Yeah.
outperformed everything that was artificially made, even back then.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. So let's talk about how founders choose a marketing agency without getting held hostage, so to say, as we've talked a little bit about. I mean, what are the high level questions that they need to be asking? I mean, we know a lot of these agencies aren't going to be as transparent as you, maybe even, the way I deal with things, and really agencies being able to tell the client, I'm sorry, thanks, but no thanks, right? Them interviewing you is just as much as you interviewing them. There's a big problem also with data ownership. A lot of clients that, I've taken over, Facebook ads have been run on the agency side, not on the client side. Data is lost at the end of the relationship. And I'm in the belief of just like you are no BS, agency and marketing. I'm of the belief of you own everything. I
Exactly.
don't, right? And there's a huge problem in that.
So even in the audit stages, we write that the audit is their property and they own it and stuff like that. So to me, we went through a lot of customers that went through that. And I just like, why would you do something like that if you're good? So by doing something like that, you admit you're A, a scumbag, B, a dickhead, to see somebody that's bad at their job and not willing to learn it. So they're doing bad practices. Like I just get pissed off that people like that want to be in business. Like if you're a person like that, just don't be in a go do crypto and shit.
Yeah.
So to me, I just think that general we really need to get to a point where everybody requires people to give you data, to give you something insight. We go through audits. We usually write 40 to 60 pages as a document on exactly what's going to happen in the next 3 months and how that's going to look and why we're doing that and what we're like. We map out first the issues and then we map out how to fix the issues in the next 3 months, basically. But
Yes.
if you don't have that as a plan of attack and you just go with the trust me bro agency, the
Yes.
problem with that is that you have some agencies that are amazing. I know some of them, like they're rock stars, are leading the way. They're on podcasts, they're on YouTube, they're amazing. Everybody's singing their praises. But then scaling that up to a team is a completely different story. So the guy that's actually able to scale stuff to a team is usually not going to be the guy that's going to be that creative and that amazing to figure out the ads themselves. So
Yes.
there's a lot of things that need to happen right, not just to know stuff, but actually to be able to execute in a right sequence, to be fast enough to not mess it up. And that's one of the things that I just see, that if they're not able to do an audit, if they're not able to go through that process to show you what they want to do for your business, well, you shouldn't sign up. And like at the end of the day, like just look at an agency as a doctor. Like if you went to a doctor that
Yeah.
said, trust me, bro, like I know what I'm doing, just drink this, it's going to be fine, how
Yeah.
would you feel? But for some reason people do that to their business.
Yeah, so then I have a question then on the flip side of that. What should people be avoiding when they hear that agencies are promoting? I mean, like how we talked about how like 10x was like floated around, like,
Yeah.
you could, I can 10x your business by blah blah blah. I mean, what are things today that should be major red flags that you're hearing somebody say on a call, or you're even seeing it in their ads?
The main problem is that I see that they don't say the stuff that's a red flag. Usually they're really good. So like what you pointed out, like taking their assets, not giving them the account, just
Yeah.
stuff like that is step number
But
one. But nobody's
sometimes
gonna
like
tell
they
you that.
don't, yeah, I mean sometimes you don't know until you actually sign on the dotted line, which is scary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In my opinion, look at the contract, how it's made. Like if there's some like 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, it could be really a big problem. Just the
Yeah.
fact, just the fact that they're locking you in has some kind of issues. Like we don't have any lock-in. They can stop working with us in 30 days, but they
Yeah.
don't leave. Why? Because I know that I'm the best offer. I know that we have the best relationship. And then usually when they leave, they come back with their tail between their legs because they went through another amazing USA dream agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they come back, they try never to go away again.
Yeah. It's almost like for those, business owners that are listening, it's take your contract, or, if you've recorded a demo or a conversation with somebody, take that language, dump it into ChatGPT or whatever LLM you use, and just say, "Hey, I'm a business owner that knows nothing about marketing. Please help me uncover if any of these situations within the contract or in this conversation is going to hurt me in the long run," which I think is the best way to do it right now if somebody doesn't have the guidance.
I agree. That I would do that as step number one, and that's a really good idea. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, I think if they actually have a ChatGPT or a Claude or know how to use it, or just get a friend to prompt it, because I think it's a scary world out there, and anybody and everyone is willing to just make a dollar off of somebody that knows nothing.
The main reason why I like to have something written down, like as a plan of attack or like what we do with the audit, is because even like when you're a bad agency, you will strike lucky with some clients with sometimes. And
Yeah.
so the fact that you got lucky with the client doesn't mean you're good. And so I know that people go from referral to referral, hoping that they will find the right one for themselves. Like we are too wide scope, in my opinion, as an agency, but we found solutions for every type of customer. We have our internal systems and proprietary software that we use for a lot of stuff. And so that's how we figured it out. But the thing is, like as a business owner, that was the dumbest thing to do. It's the most expensive, the least yield. So you get me. Like you really need to make sure that everything makes sense, that you have somewhat of control, even though you're giving control to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in my opinion, if they're any good at their job, they're going to be able to explain everything to you. And I never have a problem. Like if I see that somebody's just raging like a kid, I just don't work with them. But usually, like that's shown in the audit. They just start
Yeah.
fighting and arguing about dumb stuff, like our website is not a problem, whatever. And like I had that conversation recently where the guy was like, "Our website is not a problem, but it's just a coincidence that we have. It's a furniture store, so like
Yeah.
all of the sales come from a 50-mile radius, and like they maybe have some sporadic sales come from further away, but like your sales, when you put it on a map, you see that the website is not doing the job, so everybody goes to the store and buys it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they just refused to like when the moment he refused to accept that, I was like, fine. I presented the rest of the audit, and then when he's like, "Can you give me a quote?" I'm like, "Nope," and left.
Yeah. I love that. Ivan, I mean, I love the clarity of your philosophy. I mean, it's great. It's just it's what's needed, in today. This has been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate your time. We have a tradition before we let somebody go where we do, rapid fire, just 3 questions. So whatever comes to your mind, it's we ask you one word, one habit, one myth. So one word that defines great marketing or business growth.
I would say data. Still data. It always will be
Always.
all like the moment you start being stagnant, you need to look at data. The moment something doesn't work, you need to look at data. The numbers don't lie. If you're
Yeah.
getting zeros, you messed up somewhere.
It's your chess move. I completely agree. One habit that separates successful agency owners from everyone else.
Generally, that's the thing. Like successful for them or their clients.
Successful for the agency.
Content. I see that everybody making content is doing really well. There's a lot of people that are not even actually providing services. They just do consulting. So they're really not actually doing anything. They just tell you what they think. So I see that a lot of agencies are basically built on a channel where people find you, and then besides, when if business owners find you, usually potential employees find you. So often enough, people that are really just good at media, not even in marketing, they just made something like a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever. They just merge those two together into something, and they start making money off of it.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, like if people start reaching out to me, like I want to do Facebook ads, and this guy is telling me I do Facebook ads, like connect the dots.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. One myth about scaling that you want to debunk.
There's too many of them, but then some of them are exclusional, some of them are not. I would say that multi-channel needs to be the thing that you need to do. Like just the
Yeah.
fact that you're doing one channel is not good. And so I see that business owners still trying to do that. And I would say that's dead. Anyone that's an agency just doing one or two channels, not providing you need to look at the customer journey. So it's either multi-channel or customer journey.
Agreed.
If they don't have all the information that they need to trust you, like they're not going to move forward. So yeah, that goes with data as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's so many touch points for somebody to discover you, and then, how many times are you hitting them before they actually convert, right?
Exactly.
Ivan, this has been so good. So good. We really appreciate all your insight and really incredible work that you're putting out there. And thanks for your honesty and transparency. I think it's what makes you in this crazy world that we're living in today. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Sasha.